This is This Week in Perspective with me, Adam Simbeye. The ruling party CCM held its 9th General National Congress in Dodoma recently. To be exact, I think it was on December 18th, which meeting elected President John Pombe Magufuli as chairman of the party for the next 5 years. The Congress also elected members of the National Executive Committee, 15 each from Zanzibar and 15 from mainland Tanzania, and endorsed the party reforms initiated by the chairman last year. To discuss the Congress and what next with me today are Dr. Brevius Kahyoza from Kampala University, who is an economist. He will help us address issues of economic issues relevant to the Congress. And next is a veteran servant, Mzee Comrade Wilson Mukama, who was Secretary General of the ruling party. Previous to that, he was Permanent Secretary, Minister of Health, Minister of Water, City Director of Dar es Salaam. Next is Professor Reginald Mihanjo, who again is a former University of Dar es Salaam and also at National Defense College as Director of Studies. So you guys had to bring this old man all the way from Tanga. And last but not least is a regular columnist in the Sunday News, Tony Zakaria. Gentlemen, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
Viewers, please don't blame me for not having a gender balance and not having a lady here who could comfortably discuss party issues. But let's hope the four gentlemen will do justice to the topic. Welcome again.
Thank you very much.
And I will start with Comrade Wilson Mukama.
Oh, really?
Yes, because you were in the kitchen.
So I'm to get to the ball.
And I understand you are also a quasi-senior staff of the CCM. Was the 9th Congress successful, and did it achieve what it intended to achieve in 2 days? But actually it completed the Congress in 1 day. Please.
That's quite an interesting question, and it's a good opener. Yeah, may I begin first by recognizing my colleagues, at least some of them we are meeting for the first time.
Thank you very much.
Doctor here, Dr. Kahyoza,
Yes, sir.
and I've always been a regular reader of the syndicated columnist in the Sunday News of Tony Zakaria. With the professor, it's indeed, it's true, we have always been together. And in some of the very serious engagements within and outside the party itself, we've had that very rare opportunity of working together.
Yes.
Now, with regard to the just held party congress, CCM party congress, congresses normally are held every 5 years.
Oh.
And it's a period which is somehow, much as it's not coterminous with the period which is normally for the presidential, when somebody is elected president also serves 5 years. But it was decided, at least for the first time, when CCM was established way back in 1977. The first Congress was in 82. It was quite significant. And then the second Congress was in 87. They were both being held in, the first Congress, CCM Congress, was held in Dar es Salaam, 82. But the 87th Congress was the first one to be held in Dodoma, in Kizota. No, not Kizota, Kizota.
Yes.
I remember, Kizota. And then we had so regularly 87, then 92, 97. So congresses normally are quite moments of significance in terms of policy, in terms of party focus, in terms of, they're not just meant to show the democratic processes. They're not just meant to be mechanisms for recruitment, selection of key party cadres, key leaders to leading party organs. So they just concluded, Congress said its significance, in my opinion, in two senses. One, it is a Congress which was being chaired by the current president, Comrade Dr. John Pombe Joseph Magufuli. You know, the baton was passed on from Mr. Kikwete just in, I think it was in March.
Yes.
It was in March this year. Yes. Yeah, and then in December we are having the Congress. But this Congress began, the electoral process began at the basic organs, at the branch level, at the cell level, branch level, district level. But one key factor is that for the first time, the electoral process of the key leaders at the national level, especially members of the National Executive Committee, it has been shifted. Previously we had some changes where we had the key national executive members of the National Executive Committee were being elected at the district level.
Yes.
So there were some changes into the party statutes. Okay. They've been done away. We have, for the first time, we have reintroduced again national executive members at the regional level and at the national level. It was supposed to be held for 2 days.
18th and 19th.
18th and 19th. But it was held only for 1 day. But the key activities were all fully accomplished. The political report was candidly presented beginning with the opening speech. It was quite focused, well received by the delegates. Not just by acclamation only, but at least you could see the mood. You could read into the audience. That was
these are the 1,800.
The 1,800 delegates. Yeah?
Yes.
Yeah. And then you had normally the Secretary Generals, we normally call it the National Executive Committee political report to revisit and to carry out kind of an evaluative presentation for the past 5 years, what the party has been doing. It was also well written, well presented. And then, of course, normally in such congresses, the members are always interested into the election of
the key officials.
Of the key officials. One, of course, is the chair himself, and the vice chairs, 2 vice chairs. And then you have the election of the 30 members, 15 from mainland and the 15 from Zanzibar. But prior to that, also in Dodoma, it was preceded with the electoral processes within the mass organizations, the youth, UWT, and the parents organization. And for the first time, they were fully attended throughout the session of these mass organization meetings, 2 days. UWT, the opening was done by the party chairperson himself. The UVCCM youth, it was also opened and fully attended by the Secretary General and also the parents. And some key political statements were delivered at that level. So I think it was quite significant. We have had all this done at Dodoma, and sometimes when it came to, I wanted to comment on the question of the numbers and the percentages. They have a clear message. The chair, the chairperson was elected at fully 100%. No spoiled vote, no vote.
And there were no other candidates.
it's normally nobody, when it comes to normally CCM was kind of a culture where it wants to have more of a consensual kind of leadership than just divisive, competitive. I know some of the former National Liberation Movement parties like SWAPO, they compete. But CCM, since then, oh no. Namibia, SWAPO Namibia, you had the
Yes,
chair.
I know, but I'm saying in CCM,
CCM we normally have, and it doesn't even the candidate, chosen candidate, he or she does not apply.
Somebody recommend.
It's the central committee which recommends.
Okay.
And by tradition, and normally the person who is the incumbent is normally given a provision of 2 terms. First 5 years, just it coincides just like the one who is nominated, who is normally the president. In the first term, if he serves fully 5 years, they normally is given a second chance. Mr. Magufuli was voted into office 100%. The vice chair, Zanzibar, also was voted into office 100%. The vice chair for the mainland, Mr. Mangula, I think he had two votes who said no.
Oh.
Yeah. Yes, because he received a 99
point.
Yeah.
99.
99. Yeah. He didn't get the same. But numerically,
yes,
the numbers who participated in who voted for Mangula was a bit slightly more than those who participated in the vote for the chair and the vice chair for Zanzibar.
but I thought it was the numbers were referring to the total delegates who were attending the meeting.
Yeah.
How could they be more?
Normally, because they take the record there.
Yes.
Yes. Each region submits the number. But sometimes when it comes, because it's not done all at once, they begin with the vice chair for the mainland.
Okay.
And then there is normally a lapse of time.
Okay.
Some go out.
Yes.
There are so many ways of expressing.
Yes. You're right. You're right.
Yeah. So, but at least, in my opinion, and I'm trying to be very, very open, very, very sincere. Given the kind of agenda the current chair has been pushing forward, I think the response, the way, the resonance, because he has been trying to rebrand this party, CCM Mpya. Just like the Chinese, they normally say, the new party, the new era.
Yes.
Yeah. He's been trying to rebrand this party back to its roots. That's the language. He's been restructuring. He's cutting down the members of the National Executive Committee from 388 to 164. Downsizing, that level of downsizing and right sizing is quite significant. Yeah. But also, he's been restructuring. Because it's not just a question of you want a small party like the Chinese. They have a membership of 8 million, but the central committee of this Chinese Communist Party is only 205 out of a membership of 8 million. But their central committee is equivalent to our national executive committee.
Okay.
Their Politburo, which is the equivalent of our central committee, it has a membership of only 25.
Okay. So all these are part of the reforms, isn't it?
The point I want to make that the articulation, the structure should really, you should have in place an organizational structure which can easily carry out, on a day-to-day, but not in terms of cost, but in terms of efficiency. I think it was well organized.
Yes. And you
Done
think,
in one day?
Yes. And you think it achieved all it intended to do?
The agenda,
Yeah.
the agenda was fully covered.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Professor,
Yeah.
can you come in here?
Yes.
With your long association with the CCM, I mean, giving advice on an academic level, as a political scientist, tell us, how did you view or see or hear about the Congress, like what Mzee Mukame has described?
Yes, CCM is my party, but I don't want to go inside
The party.
the party. I normally stay outside for simple reasons that I can do better analysis to assist the party. I was in Tanga throughout watching the conference. It succeeded, especially congresses have a significant symbolism for President Magufuli. He required a show of unity, and that one, it was achieved for this conference. As a president, he is coming in as an outsider from CCM. Mkama knows when he was nominated as party candidate, he was not an insider. And therefore, when President Jakaya Kikwete passed the chair to Magufuli, he actually needed a Congress which would demonstrate party unity. And that Congress faced the presence of all former party chairs, symbolizing that role. And the second, the vote symbolizing that issue. Okay. And therefore, even the kind of direction he wants to carry forward was really needed that party unity. All members and functionaries at all levels were supposed to show that. Yeah.
But we not we, but maybe people outside the party have always thought that there's party unity in CCM. So, as you said, the new party chairman needed a demonstration of unity, and he got it during the Congress. So, did he want stronger unity, or did he wanted a moderate as well as a authentic authority, in your view?
In my view, actually, he needs members to rally behind him.
Okay.
And especially when you are doing restructuring, he knows the hoja ya haja ya mageuzi. It was put to the party in 2011, but it was hard to be implemented. Now, Magufuli is doing it. Remember, I have said, as an outsider. He was not even a member of the Central Committee. And when he was nominated, most of the regions, members of regional committees, were not on his side. Now he's made a chair. You need exactly support for that.
Yes.
And that support is shown by the Congress, not any other meeting. It is the Congress which has to show that.
Not even in NEC, not even the Central Committee.
No, not much. Because the Congress is the one which is more mandated on the grassroots members.
Yes.
Yeah.
No,
All right.
at NEC, within NEC, the point is putting across, that the confidence measure, especially given in just past few months, the kind of decisions which have been made, some would have, you normally expect them to, the negative votes would have sent a clear message, like the purges which were carried out in Dar es Salaam. They purged the regional party chair, the national UWT chairperson. So when his candidature is put to a vote, and then you're familiar with Latin, nemine contra dissent, that it's a unanimous decision, unanimous vote. There is no vote. There is no vote. It sends a clear message.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Dr. Kahioza, as in, you are an economist, not necessarily a political scientist like a professor here. Or Mzee is also not an economist, he's not a political scientist, but he did do some work. What do you say? What can you add to these, to the views and comments of the two veteran CCM members?
Yeah, well, I think they have enlightened a lot about what has been happening, I think, within the party since President Magufuli took over even before this Congress. I would like to debate on some issues. Number one is about the way he was elected to be the chairperson, thereby, I think, underpinning the issue about the reforms and the structure they have been talking about here. So, at the ruling party, every time you will need to have what is called the political rejuvenation. But again, that political rejuvenation is not an end in itself. That rejuvenation should be not taken as a panacea to every problem within the party, but rather an eye-opener to the future of that particular party. So to my sense, I've been reading some of the interviews from the political prominent people within the party, particularly through the peace mouth of the party, Uhuru, the newspaper. So I got three main issues that are critical from the Congress. One is that what has been lacking within the party previously is maybe, we can say, there hasn't been an effective supervision of power. So the problems we have been seeing within the party and thereby being replicated in whatever caricature you put it, they were from that scenario. Number two is maybe to find the ways in which they can clean the party. You know, the scandal fatigue was real within the party. You talk about self-aggrandization. Aggrandizement was real indeed. And there, you talk of corruption. So it was to find the way, not the rally support, I mean the mass support they're talking about to the president, to the chair, was to find that new way. But again, to find an effective way of controlling the inevitable cycles of expansion and decline of the party. Now, these are the issues that emanated from there. But again, you don't stop there, because I don't see any point, and I think it will be disingenuous to purport that you do everything to renovate, to revamp the party, within the party, without looking at what is happening outside the party. I mean the political landscape within the country. And that was shown hugely from the speeches we had from the prominent leaders who have been leaders of that particular party, from even the ordinary members of the party who attended that particular meeting. So these were issues that we can pick from there. But going forward, then, one would like to look at these issues in the way of the way they can be implemented through the mass support, of course, within the party, but again, from the political landscape. So 3 points have to be looked at. And I think we go back, they will help us much more in terms of the history. We have seen this since 1961 to today. We are talking about this Congress at a time where we're celebrating 40 years of the party. At the time we're celebrating 50 years of the Arusha Declaration. And that is very, very, very important document in the history of this country. But again, don't forget that this is the year whereby, if you are to look at what has been happening within the country in terms of the economic development, I think the chair is grappling with two lofty economic issues. One is, I think, which are contained, I think, in the centennials of the party itself. One is about making the lives of Tanzanians better, of which is the central of the founding of the party. But number two is the Vision 2025, which is very important to the chair and to the party, because, mind you, by 2025, God willing, he will be the first president to be in power when we be declaring that it is a middle-income country.
Middle income.
Now, did the party, in two of these points I want to say, did the party came out in terms of the reforms? Of course, we talk about much better about them. Did the party bring them out? So we can look at, I think, on the paradigmatic ways, the paradigm shifting from what we have been seeing. So there were cries previously, for example, on the roles of the state in the economy, how it has been run. And you have seen the changes coming from the government before the party had endorsed those. The president was saying, and you could remember even when he was campaigning, I think the point the professor had said, he was totally campaigning on the grounds of a person not from within the party. He was saying, how can you be doing this? So the changes we saw from the government in terms of the economy, which were not yet endorsed by the party. Now you see that everybody is supporting that. To what extent that can be looked into the program? So the programmatic approach, that will be something to look at, I think, between now and then. And I think the third point is in terms of what starts, because of this, in any way you want to put it, if we have been having the economy, for example, that has been at least growing for the average of 18 point something GDP growth between 1988 to 2017, why is it that the level, for example, of reducing poverty has been not tackled efficiently? So some of the answers we'll find them in the reforms, but some of the ticking questions are not from the party itself. Then they will have to be looked from outside the party. So I think these were very important. To implement it, then you will have to go on the other side. You look at the leadership style and how that can be done. You look at the traditions that in a way you should be doing it, but again, you look at the timing. And this is not from, it is not starting with the system. You remember before the Russian Revolution in 1917, they had to look at the way they could adjust themselves into the westernization culture and thereby fighting the diffusion of those traditions from other countries so that they can modernize, but again keep their culturation to the point that the economy can run and benefit everybody.
And that, I think, is similar to what the Central Party of China the Communist
last
Party of
minute.
China.
And I think that will bring a lot of. I'm coming, the professor will tell us, because I've found something similar, but of a different approach. You know, later we'll talk about it.
Thank you very much. I knew you would come into the issues of economy. That's why I brought you here specifically to try and link the issue of economic growth, the issues of the economy and poverty, with what is transpiring in terms of the structure change, the reforms in the party. Thank you very much for that. Now, from a journalistic point of view, an independent columnist, what do you say to this? Much has been said by the three panelists here.
Yes.
What's your take on this?
I bring a different perspective. First of all, I was a founding member of CCM.
Oh.
I was TANU Youth League, and then I became TANU, and I was TAPA. And when I became CCM, I became CCM. But that's
Question of founding
the TANU I
CCM,
knew
even
and
myself.
the CCM that it became
Yes.
are not the same. The commitment of the members, the way the leaders and everybody worked, it's no longer that same party. The party that I knew, where the president or maybe the chair, the secretary, the leaders of the provinces and districts went into the trenches with a common person, I haven't seen that party. I've seen a party that has perhaps grown and became modern with technology and whatever, and maybe salaries, but that's not the party I knew. So yes, I declare intent that I have been CCM, so, and I still think my party, the party I used to love, can become that party once again. The agenda that was being carried out in 2 days was maybe ambitious, but we know Magufuli. We knew he probably will come up with the water and mandazi and there will be no lunch. Fortunately, he allowed everybody to go for lunch because he wanted to work. It seems like he's somebody who likes to work and work long hours to achieve the agenda of the people. So I'll call it the Magufuli style, speed, and standard. There are some things I liked. I like the fact that this is a path which can say, we didn't like you, Mkama. You did some bad things, but now you are reformed. You can come back. You want to come back, we accept you. Because nobody's perfect. A party that can do that, I think the other parties can learn from it. Because we have seen where maybe there are disagreements and somebody leaves and they live forever. Seldom we hear somebody going back. I am not sure what has happened with other parties. You have prominent members jumping horses and coming to CCM. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but it's politics. And
Professor
will have something to say.
We'll help answer that later.
Right, but it is an expression of democracy. They are doing exactly what they can and are allowed to do. It was nice to see it was a smaller meeting. You know, remember the meeting that elected him as candidate?
Yes.
Was a really huge meeting, and you are thinking, okay, and three of governing ourselves. Like personally, I've always thought 30 provinces for Tanzania is too many, or 5 for Zanzibar is too many. Because I worked in Pakistan. Pakistan has almost 200 million people, and they have 8 provinces. Maybe Magufuli is now bringing some sense. Bring down the numbers of leaders so you can work. Because it doesn't necessarily mean if you have a big committee,
yes,
you will achieve much. It was also significant to see there was no obvious evidence of groups. That has been a problem with the party. You have Makundi, power bases, and
factions.
Yes. This was heavily evident during the last election. And now we are getting somewhere where the party can settle down and do some real work without having to have these power bases centered around people. I'm not sure Magufuli not being an inner circle member of the party from previous is necessarily a bad thing. I think it's a good thing, because personally I have believed we should follow the example of Western democracies. The president should not be the chair. We should have a separation of power. The party should be the party, so that Obama was not the party chairperson, and neither was Bush, or neither is Donald Trump, or Theresa May for that matter, or the Chancellor of Germany.
Yes.
We should have the party focus on building the party, building allegiance, expanding its membership, its agenda, developmental or otherwise.
And the presidency was made when Mwalimu resigned from the premiership position to go back to the party to strengthen it.
Strengthen the party.
So he was chairman. And
yes.
Until he retired, he was chairman of the party. And but that was discussed many times in the party forums.
The separation of powers, I think, is important, because it will shield the government of the day from the day-to-day infighting in a party.
Problems.
Yeah. So I think CCM has done okay so far. I think they are moving in the right direction. There is still some work to go, but now I can still see the seeds of that old party that I used to love. I used to sing for. I used to wear
parade
black and green uniform for, with pride. Because now I'm not sure people are there with the same pride. I'm not saying they have no pride in their party, but with the same pride.
But
that made people walk from Butiama to Mwanza,
yes,
from Arusha to Dar es Salaam. That was the party.
Tony, but that was a one-party system then.
That was a party of the people. What are numbers for? Where we are heading now, if Magufuli keeps the fight on corruption, on looking after the poor, on improving services, this is what the people want. They don't want a multitude of parties. They want a multitude of services that serve the needs of the common person, the party of the wakulima and wafanyakazi. I think the party still has work to do in terms of going back to a leadership code that separates the haves, the ones who have too much wealth, for lack of better word, from aspiring to party leadership, because then that defeats the whole purpose of having a party of workers and peasants. It becomes a party of people who have wealth, and therefore they have vested interests.
Because, the historical, sometime 2 years back, I think you were party secretary general then, J.K. Kikwete, of course, they said something in Zanzibar that, leaders should now make up their mind. You want to read or you want to do business. If you want to be a leader, forget about business. You can't do both. And I think the fear was the same, because if you're a businessman, one day you'll be forced by circumstances to use your wealth to fight for position of leadership
in the government,
yes,
to influence decisions that affect and benefit your business interests.
Now,
yes. I think there is a problem. I do agree much with what I have some observations a bit. The problem that the Western have been doing some things, and then we think that it's purely democracy. I don't have any issue with having a president who is the chair of the party. And I would like to give you some examples and issues behind that. You have Vladimir Putin at one time as a chair, and then
the president.
At the other time, he's not a chair as it is now. He's not a chair, and then but he is controlling the party. He's saying I will run as an independent candidate, but then the party is cheering, saying that we will be supporting you. Now look at that. You don't have a person who is a chair at the same time being the president, but again, he's controlling everything within the party. So I don't think
you think we'll have a Putin like...
But the other thing you have to note,
yes,
he's right. once you can crack down the muscles of corruption, once you can get rid of this quagmire that has been within system for so long with these rich people, then you reach at a point whereby you go against the French saying that after money, it's power. Après avoir son pouvoir. So when you after you have money, then it's easier for you to do that. And then you had many people capturing the party. So deciding on the policies, deciding on the direction of the party. So if you can get rid of that, and then you have a chair who is really after people, then that's very good. But again with that, we have to be very careful again. You know, it's not enough to live with this mantra about development and then we end there. Development should come with other, segmenting. Otherwise, we'll be cajoling the public and saying, these are reforms, these are restructuring. But if you go deep down, you find that no, it's not corruption now, but it is another scenario of cynicism and self-interest of some people. And I think these elders can help us do that. Because if you don't tackle that, really, the problem with that will have the ripple effect. And then it will touch the economy. Then you find that even the changes you're admiring, they won't be effective enough.
Okay, thank you very much. So far, so good, yeah? Let me come to you, Professor.
Yes.
Of course, it was explained here, but was his re-election as party chairman expected?
Yes. It was.
There was no other way around.
Yeah. I have been listening to my colleague.
Two outsiders.
My comrade Mkama knows I have done analysis on party election. I have done analysis on general election. I have done analysis on the party. And throughout, from President Mkapa to Jakaya Kikwete and now Magufuli. These problems always have been there. And I said from the beginning, I am an academician. I do analysis. What you are dealing with, all parties have a question on political work, and that is ideological. And there is a big question which is going on, what you are discussing. The Chinese resolved it by putting one country, two systems, capitalism and socialism. And what is affecting our party precisely is that question. What is the ideology of CCM now? Mkaba was a party secretary general. Yes. He will tell you this is a big dilemma.
Are you sure?
I'm quite sure.
Speaking from the academic point.
I'm quite sure.
Sure, okay.
I'm quite sure.
Yeah, actually, you're very right, but maybe he will answer this. Does CCM believe that this country is a capitalist or socialist?
Or both.
Or both?
Professor is very right.
Are you sure?
That is the problem. You can in 1991
Yes.
and 92, Party Congress made a resolution.
Yes.
We are going to build this country based on socialism, but not socialism based on the state. we are going to build it based on people. But now the trick is, when you talk about people, that is exactly those with political power, and the political power precisely goes along the party line, and that is where the problem is.
I think if you can allow me a little lecture so that
Because-
Kama can answer that question very well. From an intellectual prognosis, I do agree with what Professor is saying. Look, with now President Magufuli, with what he's doing, a very nice job. We are seeing a very big clique within the party that is identifying itself being leftist, and thereby fighting those pretending, probably not real rightists. Now you have a gap in between, particularly when it comes to the implementation of the country's economic policies.
Party directive.
So you will be in tatters. But the second thing I would like Mzee also to allude to is that if you go back through the history, there have been major changes, major restructuring of the party, which didn't solve the problems and brought in the problem Professor Mihanje is talking about. Remember in 1971, they came up with Mwongozo wa Tano. And you remember the Mwongozo wa Tano, it had done a reflection after 14 years of Arusha Declaration, and the party itself said, if you can go back and read page, I think the 35 of that Mwongozo, was lamenting that there was the upcoming of bureaucratic bourgeoisie within the party, within the government, and its machineries, and thereby distracting the public sector. And that's whereby we saw a lot being distracted. Again, they came up in 1981 with Mwongozo wa CCM. You look at, I think it is on Article 52, page 39 and page 40. The parties were agreeing that there is a big fracture in terms of where we're heading. So they wanted to restructure itself, to rejuvenate itself, but where did we end? So it didn't work because that huge gap Professor is bringing in is still existing.
Okay, now,
So you
Comrade Mukama, you were saying no to your colleague, your party colleague and compatriot for many years. You were saying, is that true? You are questioning him. I mean, do you want to come in for a few minutes because time seems to be running out?
time is not on our side, really. When it comes to questions of leadership, sometimes there are two levels. There's a level of something of pure ideological issues, but is it practical? And where do correct ideas normally come from? From social practice. We've been around in this world. There are certain issues from a purely ideological point of view. You would want them done, that the key actor is the state. And then normally when we talk of state ownership, state enterprises, we even called it Shirika la Umma, SU, but it was not Shirika la Umma. It was purely a state. In fact, the English acronym SU is more correct. State owned. In Zanzibar, they use the word Shirika la Serikali. It's not Shirika la Umma, social ownership. And you could find the limitation ideologically. We live in a world which previously was multipolar, then it became unipolar, the Washington consensus. You see, and that's why even the Chinese now, the key actor there is the state. But they have so inclusive, it's so open. That's why Dane used the word, he doesn't mind whether the cat was black or white. The limitation, Mwalimu, in 1977, we had a lot of reserves. We went to war with Uganda. In fact, this IMF told Mwalimu, it was so embarrassing, politically embarrassing, such a young country, so much reserves. But the collapse of the EAC, of the community, we had to start up business startups in the infrastructure, the airways, the railways, the harbors, depleted. Is it repleted or depleted? depleted those resources.
Okay.
And just a minute. I just
Because
want to-
I'm the moderator, Comrade
okay.
Mukama. I mean, time is not
running out.
on our side, because
Okay.
there's one question which I also wanted to ask, and I think I've been asked by many people to raise this issue when they knew we were going to discuss CCM.
Yeah.
We've seen a trend of leaders from other parties
Yeah.
changing sides, going to CCM. The reason they say is that they agree with the CCM and the way it is approaching issues, and their concerns are now being raised by the CCM, so they must as well join in. Now, do you think this is a good move in terms of multi-party democracy? Does it augur well for democracy? Very quickly, and then Professor will wind up. We have to wind up.
The crossover.
The crossovers. I know, it depends on how we are defining our political parties. A serious political party, and I would like to agree with Mr. Pole Pole, it cannot be just like a dala. Because a serious political party, in terms of its policy framework, in terms of its ideological anchors,
Yes.
you cannot have somebody today in, tomorrow
Tomorrow
is out.
The next day is
the
back.
way we recruit, we select, and we place in key leading positions, commitment is always. The Chinese, they don't mince.
Yes, but you avoid, you're not really avoided, but you didn't answer my question. Does this augur well for multi-party democracy?
It's just like I said, it's a multi-party system. It depends on how you would want to define it. In the US, they have a two-party system. It's not multi-party. You're either Democrat, the rest are just Democratic participants.
And
You're
the
either
Republican.
Democrat or Republican. In the UK,
Yes. Conservative, Labour, Liberal.
leadership is a two-party system. It's not a. You have the official opposition and the government.
Yes.
Yeah. So literally, what does it mean? It's two parties.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Professor, quickly, do you want to comment on that? No.
It is normal.
It's no. Thank you very much. All right. Well, very quickly, we start here. We go this way. What are the challenges ahead for CCM then, after all the party congress, which was successful, as we heard from our panelists?
I would like to see that party go back to being a party of the common person,
Yeah, okay.
to fight for the needs of the average person. It doesn't mean they shouldn't fight for those with means.
Yes.
They should also fight for big businesses and people with resources to rise like they did in South Korea.
Yes.
Because South Korea allowed families to rise as pillars of the economy. Just because you have money doesn't mean you are a bad person. We can support them to go into the international system, acquire wealth, and bring
Particularly
it Tanzania.
when Magufuli's administration is gunning for
industrialization. Yeah.
Thank you. Very quickly.
My worry is only I have always seen mitandao ya vyeo.
Yes.
I don't want that. People may rally behind the president because only they want vyeo
Positions.
position.
This is no good.
No, not good.
All right. Very quickly.
Yeah, it's
1 minute.
Yeah, I would just say, I don't want to make a cardinal observation that the key problem we are facing is backwardness. And that has always been the thrust of our leadership since 1991. And the limitation of the state intervention is so clear. That's why we are opening up. We would want to have many key actors to solve a critical problem of backwardness.
All right. Very quickly.
I think it's good. One, I would have to comment what they are doing within the party, because there was a sense of collective criminalization. So any city being CCM was a criminal, and now that is starting to get away. I think that's a very good thing.
The reverse is also true. Being a member of the opposition is it criminal?
Now that also, that's what I was saying. Now you have to look at it and the huge intellectual political landscape. Lastly, I think, as Italians say, that it's to the own sense of solution. You will have a situation without solution if we don't solve this thing called statism, having a party, having several ideology, having what within the government. I think these economic shenanigans that have not been solved is very, very important from the intellectual perspective within the party, but again to the policymakers within the government.
My panelists, I wish I had 1 hour.
Yeah, you need more time, really, like with the shenanigans.
We were getting to the
into
crux
leadership.
of the matter.
Into
Many
ANC
issues
now.
raised by Tony here and Professor and the Comrade Mukama and young economist Bravias Kahyoza. So let's hope we'll have an opportunity again to discuss these issues. So I thank you very much for your presentation, for your analysis, and even for your concern towards the end about what we should be doing, what the party should be doing, and the fact that it is aiming at developing the individual Tanzanian, and the party should go to its roots, which is the original principle on which it was established. Thank you very much. Viewers, you heard the views of my panelists here. Obviously, the 9th Congress of the ruling party CCM in Dodoma a week ago concluded in a high note, as it was able to elect President Magufuli as chairman, as well as his vice chairman from Zanzibar and mainland Tanzania, Dr. Shein and Philip Mangura, respectively. The party Secretary General Abdurrahman Kinana maintained his position as well. Definitely, the party demonstrated maturity and unity, as Professor Bihanjo says, and therefore there were lessons, I suppose, for other parties to follow. What next for the party? Time will tell, as we've heard from my panelists here. This is all we have for you today until next Sunday at the same time, and on Thursday at 15 hours for the repeat program. On behalf of my panel, Dr. Bravias Kahyoza, Comrade Wilson Mukama, Professor Ignodi Mihanjo, Tony Zakaria, and my TBC Television Center crew. Thank you, viewers, and goodbye. Thank you.